finally up.
We are.
It's going to be a good show tonight.
Take a few sips of coffee.
Coffee? I'm drinking whiskey.
What kind you bring?
Town Branch.
Nice.
I hear we have a special guest coming on tonight.
Be bringing him up soon in this first half hour of the program. Welcome to the Liberty Without Compromise live stream broadcast. We are the only live, local, liberty-minded program in Kootenai County where we expose the political power players, politicians, and influencers that make politics in this county what it is today. We're your hosts, Dan and Dawna Wilson. I'm here to screen your questions and comments. You can get involved right there in the comment section on whichever platform you're watching by submitting those questions and comments. They're coming right into us live. And when it applies and makes sense, we'll ask it live. If you're watching live with us right now, can I emphasize live? Be sure to click the share button on whichever platform you're watching, whether that's Facebook, YouTube, X, or Instagram. Again, share this live stream to your page or profile so more people can ask Woody McEvers, Mayor of Coeur, their questions. If you're listening back on our podcast, be sure to catch us live every Wednesday at 7 p.m. And an important reminder, opinions expressed are ours only and not necessarily that of any of our advertisers, sponsors, affiliates, or even our guests. On tonight's program, Sheriff Bob Norris pulled off a traffic stop that checks every box of what not to do. No body cam, no CAD record, no policy compliance, and no concern for officer safety. Even more troubling, he blocked in a Kootenai County resident during that stop, raising questions about whether she was being targeted. Also, the helicopter, it's grounded, but Norris keeps pushing it on taxpayers. The hidden ALPR program on 45 patrol cars. Your privacy's on the line. That vote by the county commissioners is coming up next Wednesday. We'll be talking about that tonight. And we've got Coeur Mayor Woody McEvers. He's joining us to talk about leadership, policy, and the upcoming race for mayor. And now here's your host, Dan Wilson.
Good evening. Episode 33. Now, for those of you who are afraid of the number 33, I don't hold to any kind of superstitions. So we are running number 33 tonight. Neil, 33 right for you. Thanks so much for joining us for the Liberty Without Compromise broadcast. Yes, we are here each week to remind you, wherever you happen to be, whether it's right here in Kootenai County, in the region, or around the fruited plains, that your liberty is non-negotiable. And those things that the founders fought so hard to make certain that were protected for you, namely life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, aka property. That's what we're here to do each and every week. We offend many conservatives because I know you think that you are conservative. You think that you're upholding the Constitution and you're actually just emotional. And then we also make liberals extremely irate and upset as well, but we're going to keep it right down the center of all things Liberty Without Compromise. As Donna said earlier, we have a special guest. A couple weeks ago, we had City Councilman for Coeur d'Alene, Dan Gookin, who is running for mayor, and we are pleased tonight to have current Coeur d'Alene Mayor Woody McEvers on with us. We're going to talk with him in just a few minutes.
I want to jump in and say we've already got questions coming in the comments section. We've got Andrew joining us over on YouTube. And I want to let you know, hang tight, because we're going to bring Woody on in a little bit, and we will make sure to get those questions to him. They're looking good. Yeah. Woody, you should be excited.
Are we saving those so we can key them up?
Sure.
All right, better do that. Well, I have had a couple records requests in since our last broadcast to the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office. I was more curious about what exactly Bob Norris was doing when he allegedly blocked in Pennie Collinson just a short week ago near Costco. We showed you those photos last week. We did a little research. We wanted to find out what the truth was. And I think that you guys will be as interested as I am. Some of you will be shocked. Some of us, we've learned that Bob just does what he does, but we know that he has been pushing very hard. In fact, he just was on Summer Bushnell, who I'm not a fan of. I'm not a fan of Summers, but somebody sent me a screenshot that Norris is on her page somewhere in social media, I'm guessing Facebook, claiming don't listen to what they're saying about the LPRs.
Should I say? I'm going to go ahead and say it's the Bushnell Report. Yeah. It's a Facebook page. You might actually find a good time going over, finding that post on her page. It's probably about 3 or 4 down because she does post about all things political. But there's some good engagement in the comment section there on her page. Most namely, right now, is the Sheriff Bob Norris account, whether or not that's Bob that's managing that account, and it was directly him making the comment. I'm sure he authorized it, but Bob Norris is there to, I guess, proclaim what false information is going out and to set the record straight. And as some of the LE, some LE they're working overtime in the comment section to position themselves.
It's curious because some Kootenai County Sheriff's Office deputies informed me last week that they could not argue with what I was saying.
Yeah, you got a couple that are still trying to do it. And I invited them to join. So if you're watching with us now, just hang tight.
So I put together a little video. Hopefully this video, when I say video, I'm putting together screenshots, videos.
These are it's a visual, our visuals that we're using tonight.
We're going to go ahead and roll this because I want to take you down a little memory lane when it comes to Bob Norris's position on all things that are related to LPRs. So let's go ahead and play this one. Is it going to play?
I don't know what happened.
We may have a snafu. That is definitely not the beginning of the video.
It's not the beginning.
We'll try it one more time here. No. All right. Well, here's what we've got. We've got a collage of Bob Norris just in the past year before the county commissioners as he is pleading, and I would say pleading, begging for these LPRs to continue to be in operation. He has continually referenced officer safety. In fact, FOP President Nick Franson even came to the county commissioners in, it was August, about a year ago, when he was pleading to have the LPRs approved. That was back in the day when the LPRs were literally being run without the public's knowledge in demo mode, no policies, no procedures. They didn't even know how they were even storing and handling the data. Nick Franson, the good little dutiful sergeant that he is, part of Norris's inner circle, well, he even pled that officer safety. A few weeks ago when Norris was told we're not going to fund this LPR software anymore, Norris threw a fit. He literally threw a fit. And he said, I guess you don't care about officer safety, because Bob, anytime he wants to manipulate the county commissioners, and he's doing a pretty dang good job, it looks like, with Mr. Eberline, County Commissioner Eberline, who was just a week prior, this is now 2-3 weeks ago, not in favor of continuing funding the LPRs, but rather to defund them. Bob Norris even admits at another county commissioner meeting the week later where he says, I want to reconsider for officer safety that we put this budget item back in. And Bob says, I've even had a discussion with Mr. Eberline, and Mr. Eberline supports officer safety. Well, Bob Norris continually pushes officer safety. This is the common theme that he uses when he wants to manipulate people into buying off onto or into one of his con scams. So I find it very ironic that this very past week, we received from Pennie Collinson, who is currently suing Norris for defamatory comments that she claims that he made at a town hall for candidates back in 2024 down in Cataldo. As you may recall, there was a candidate forum for several different types of offices that were open in Kootenai County. Bob happened to be there, and allegedly, and I've heard from witnesses that were right there, they back up that what was said to Pennie Ann was very vile, very heinous. Pennie then files a tort claim against Bob Norris in the county. And after she files this tort claim, Bob Norris responds by what? Putting a bounty out on the official Kootenai County Sheriff's Office letterhead. Now, in this letter that he puts on his official press release, he says, hey, anybody that can find evidence that this woman is lying through video or some other source, I'm going to give them $10,000. So the woman that was claiming that Bob Norris had already defamed her, that had wronged her, that had caused her harm, once she files this tort claim with the county, he turns around within days and puts a bounty on her through using the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office. And I think it was Zach Sifford that wrote the press release, Lieutenant Sifford. Well, eventually the tort claim was not answered, and Pennie filed a suit against Norris and the county. You've heard us talk about this quite a bit the past couple weeks. Pennie, eventually her case was dismissed on a technicality, and a few weeks ago she was able to refile. And once about a week, just a couple days actually after she had filed this new lawsuit properly, she's sitting in a parking lot right across from Costco. In fact, it's just due south of the Costco parking lot, and to the west, there's a little, off of 4th Avenue, a little coffee stand called, what is it, Human Bean?
Mm-hmm. The Human Bean.
And we have pictures, and she's pulled in having a conversation on her phone when she looks in her rear view mirror and she sees red and blue lights. And when she looks back, she realizes that Bob Norris, who has been named in this lawsuit, has stopped a vehicle and blocked her from moving. So she cannot move her vehicle. The vehicle that was stopped by Norris was blocking her from movement. Well, officer safety is such an important thing. I was kind of curious when I saw the pictures, and these pictures caused me to ask for some records from Kootenai County Sheriff's Office. One was, I noticed that Bob Norris, when he was stopping this car, remember that as a former law enforcement officer, I've performed hundreds of traffic stops over my years of service. Traffic stops are one of the most dangerous things that a uniformed officer can conduct. And I noticed that Bob, who claims all the time that he's for officer safety, he is stopping this vehicle and he's not wearing a Kevlar vest. So he's just in his polo and his tack pants and his gun belt, but no tack vest. So I put a records request into the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office. And again, I apologize that my video is not playing.
Well, I think it's playing.
No, I don't know that.
Where does it need to be?
Yeah, right here. It might go.
You want me to hit play?
Yeah. I need to leave for whatever reason, it's stalled in this mode. But anyway, the request was provide all reports and CAD notes for this incident. And I took a timestamp from the photo that Pennie Ann was able to capture. And I gave some broad parameters and put out Sheriff Bob Norris's unit, which is 2100. That's his call sign. And I used his name. And I said, I want the CAD notes for this traffic stop. What was the reason for the stop and what was the conclusion of the stop?
Got off a few hours late. I am not on duty right now.
Yeah, we've gone down too far now. I'm not gonna play this because we want to get to Woody. Maybe we'll play it another time. My fault because I'm apparently technically challenged. Anyway.
I'm going to blame it on some kind of software update in the streaming software we're using because things are behaving a little strangely tonight.
We might have a short show tonight.
No, it just, I can make it work with the visuals. You just need to.
Anyway,
Cue me.
so when I received the no records exist, I was not surprised. So what you have is you have Bob Norris, who claims that he is for officer safety. He is stopping vehicles. He's not putting the call out over the air. So he's not either keying it into his MDC, that's his computer, letting somebody know that he's stopping a vehicle. He's not stopping the vehicle by announcing it over the radio so that dispatch knows his whereabouts, his location, and what he's stopping, what kind of vehicle, what the plate number is. We know this because no records exist, and yet if something goes sideways, nobody knows where Sheriff Norris is, because he continually says that these LPRs are going to prevent an officer death by making certain that an officer is made aware of a potentially dangerous individual before he stops them. So Bob apparently did not run the vehicle plate before he stopped the vehicle. He just stopped the vehicle. And it just so coincidentally happens to be right where Pennie is parked. So this leads to a bigger question. If Bob Norris doesn't truly care about officer safety, his own safety, he is the one that's supposed to be leading his organization. He violates policy by making a contact with a citizen. Oh, by the way, the Supreme Court has ruled that traffic stops are legal. However, they said in their ruling that it is a Fourth Amendment seizure. So if you seize somebody and hold them for a while, you would think that you would put some note in CAT. I mean, where I came from, my agency, every time we had a stop or an interaction with somebody, we had to document, even if it was a mistaken identity, even if it turned out to be nothing, we still typed notes in the CAD. So all of this leads me to think that either one, Bob Norris really doesn't give a shit about any officer safety because he himself doesn't practice it. No Kevlar vest, no going out over the air, letting other officers know what he's doing. He doesn't even document it for protection, civil protection later on. If something happened and the individual that he stopped wants to come back and make claims against him later, no body cam footage. So he violating all of these policies and common practices by law enforcement, then that leads me to believe that he really was targeting Pennie Ann to harass her. What is the likelihood somebody that is suing you, you're the sheriff, you're really, you remember, he's on disability from Los Angeles at over $187,000 a year. There's restrictions on what he can do. He is not post-certified. He shouldn't be conducting any kind of traffic stops.
Well, I mean, that was my question to you last week is what is he even doing? What is he doing patrolling? I mean, unless it's a state of emergency, why is he doing
Well, even in a state of emergency,
stops?
he doesn't show up to command posts.
Well, yeah. But routine traffic stops, and we mentioned last week that we hear it all the time. We actually hear it all the time that he himself, so we've heard it from friends of ours as we're sitting around chatting like, oh, hey, yeah, I got pulled over. Mm-hmm. Sheriff Bob Norris.
Well, again,
and I know you were not quick to jump to the conclusion that Pennie Ann being in that spot, being blocked in, that she was somehow being targeted, because you're like, well, how exactly could you stage that
over the years? And
yeah.
when you stop a vehicle, you may try to suggest where they go. You set the stop up.
Sure.
You know, there's certain things that you might be able to predict. Hey, if I light them up here, they'll pull into the very first parking lot here or over to the shoulder. But that's not always a given. I mean, I've had grandmas before where I've followed for 7-8 blocks with my lights and sirens on before they finally pull over.
At the end of the day, you're subject to what people who aren't used to being routinely pulled over. You're like, oh, do I go right here? Do I get off the road? If I pull into this parking lot, how far back do I go? And when you see the images of that parking lot, I mean, they pulled back pretty far into that parking lot to end up in the position that they were. So there were some things last week that I think you kind of debunked, even though you were being very tentative about that angle, that it was somehow targeted. But the more that's unfolded, that you've learned through records requests, the images of the scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's what I'm going to do. After this show's done, you and I will either tonight or tomorrow, we'll fix whatever is wrong with that video. And then we'll actually cut a special segment.
We will do
for
a
those of you
special
that want to see the step-by-step. It's a little bit more difficult without visuals and audio to step you through it. But hopefully This is yet one more example of exactly the hypocrisy and the lack of integrity that Bob Norris has. He does not lead his troops by example, and he definitely is a hypocrite when it comes to officer safety because he does not practice it himself. So we have a very special guest tonight, as we talked about earlier. I think it's time that we bring him on. Hopefully you guys are ready with questions for Woody. Woody, we're going to...
Yeah, I was going to say, for those of you just joining us, because we've had quite a number since the beginning of the hour, we do have current Coeur d'Alene Mayor Woody McEvers, bringing him up here in just a few seconds. If you've got... First off, share this live feed to your page or profile. And secondly, if you've got questions for Mayor McEvers, you can just put those right into the comment section, no matter which platform you're watching. And I'm going to bring him up onto the stage, and then we can begin this conversation. Dan, you might have had some intro questions for him too.
I just wanted to welcome you. Woody, thank you so much for joining us tonight on the Liberty Without Compromise broadcast.
Well, thanks, Dan, for having me. I've met you before, haven't I?
I think we've met a time or two. We've probably, I don't know, did a couple handshakes.
That's right. In the restaurant, I think.
Yeah.
He was out stroking people, right?
Well, not me. Not me.
Wasn't you? Oh, must have been that
me.
other guy. Sorry.
Yeah. So
I just remember meeting you, I think.
We appreciate you coming on. Of course, we had Dan Gookin on a few weeks ago, and we wanted to get you on as well. You are currently mayor of Coeur d'Alene. How long have you been in the position?
Coming up, I started in March. So whatever that is, 6-7 months.
And you are filling in for the previous mayor who had vacated the seat.
Correct.
And so you were voted in by your city council.
Correct.
To fill that position. So now you are running for it again. But before we get into the politics, tell us a little bit about where you grew up and a little bit about your background.
Well, I grew up in Santa Monica, the San Fernando Valley, and in the Ventura County area. Mostly, blue collar. My dad worked in the grocery store. So when I was 16, I was a box boy. And I realized it coming over here that I've been in service my whole life. I did that for a lot of years, got into restaurants. I picked up trash in Malibu for 7 years. That was service, picking up trash. So yeah, I've been a service guy all these years. And the politics sides, I'm not real good at that. I got involved in the city as a traffic safety, stop signs and crosswalks. And I thought, well, this is interesting. So I learned that. Then I went in. They offered me a spot on planning and zoning. So you start learning a little bit more about the rules and how cities work and plan for the future. And then I threw my hat in the ring and got elected as a councilman. And I've been there getting reelected for almost 23 years now. So it's just sort of happened. I think part of it is the restaurant business. You're very close to people. You're close to their family and their kids and their moms and dads and grandmas and grandpas. And we've been doing it for so long that we are part of that community. We're part of the family. So, because I'm not a politician by any means,
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, and yeah, the name politician is a dirty word, isn't it not?
I never thought of it that way. I just don't understand it, and it's just not. To tell you the truth, it's going to sound corny. It just seems, it feels negative, and I'm not much of I'm not good at negative. I have a tendency to move away or disregard or go listen to music.
Understood. Well, you have obviously had to hear a lot of negative things, though, being a city councilman for, what did you say, 23 years?
Yeah.
So I imagine you have seen quite a bit change in Coeur d'Alene. I know that when I first started coming to Coeur d'Alene back when I was a young teenager, we didn't have too many tall buildings downtown. We didn't have a lot of development. There was a lot of old establishment businesses, and things have definitely changed since the Black Rock years, have they not?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I was here in the 70s, and when we started getting into the restaurant business, at that time you could drink at 19, so that you guys from Washington would come over and
Yeah.
party, and
Yeah.
it was good for business. About that time is when the mills were starting to close, and the mining was closing, and Coeur d'Alene was going through, it used to be blue collar. That's what it was. And that's what made it comfortable for me, is it's everybody's working folks. And that changed when half of the city downtown was empty. It was like, oh, geez, what are we going to do? How are we going to survive? How people don't have jobs. That's what I remember of the 70s. And then the 80s came, and they did the revamp downtown. They did this fancy street things with the bulb outs and all that. And that was when we were in our restaurant, and we were on 6th and Sherman, where they're building that hotel right now. And we were there for like 5 years, 6 years. And then we moved up the street just out of the downtown district to the old Sambo's. And we were there for like another 10 years there. So we got to kind of be in the middle of the growth when things were starting to get a little better. But the big part of it was how are the businesses going to survive? That's what I remember. I remember when the mall opened, or when Kmart came. I mean, Kmart was like so far out of town. It was funny looking back on it. Just, you got to drive almost all the way to Hayden to go to Kmart.
Yeah.
So it was interesting, and it was very positive at that time, as I recall. It was, people were excited. We got a Kmart, and now we got Costco. Come on, that was as good as it could get in our little town, as I remember. So when I came here, it was 16,000 people, and it was survival mode. And it still probably is to a lot, but there's much more opportunities now. And I agree. I don't like everything that's happened, but again, I look at all the good things that have happened, the parks and opportunities for people and businesses. We had one brewery in town. There must be 8 or 9 of them now. People can make money making beer in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, or the girls can get their cheeks done and their eyebrows dyed. I've never heard of that. So, I mean, I'm grateful they're making a living. How about gyms? I remember when the Kroc Center came, that opportunity was a big deal because the community really wanted a community center. And when you ran the numbers, what kills a community center is a pool. The maintenance is outrageous, and overhead and all the safety aspects. And I remember the 2 gyms that were here were just, we can't have that. They'll compete with us. And now there's one on almost every corner. So again, I get it. I look back and I understand where people are coming from, and I see it too. But, when I have to wait through 2 traffic lights, I'm still looking up at the mountains and the trees and enjoying the seasons and just appreciating where I'm at. I mean, we have a town with a beach. We have a lake, we have parks, and they plow the snow. They keep things clean. The roads, they paint the roads bright stripes. It seems weird when they put paint down on the stripes. It seems like it's all bright and cheerful or something.
So, tonight we're talking to Coeur d'Alene Mayor Woody McEvers. This is your chance to ask him questions about the upcoming election. He is going to be running. There may be some other people that put their hat in the ring, because I know that date is still open. But right now, what we currently know is that Dan Gookin will be in that race for Coeur d'Alene mayor as well.
Will be. He is in the race. Yeah.
Yes, he will be ongoing in the race. A question from Andrew over on YouTube. Question for you, Woody, is what are the things business owners should be doing in Coeur d'Alene to help keep freedom alive?
Freedom alive. I don't think I understand that. What freedom alive?
Yeah, that might be a little bit of a kind of a what's the word? More of an abstract sort of question. As I know you were talking about the growth in the community and what you've seen since your time here. So that's something that maybe listeners can chime in on the comments, or if you want to further drill down on that question over there on YouTube, you can do that. I know we had, Dan, you might have had a question there, and I know we have a few others as well.
So Woody, what is your, I guess, your reason for continuing to want to sit in the mayor's seat? What is kind of your campaign about, and what are you looking to achieve in the next few years?
Boy, I haven't even got that far. The way this happened, when I got put into the seat, I was pretty much finishing up. I've got great grandkids and kids, and we work all the time in the restaurant business, and this was taking up the other side of it. But I was always learning something, and so I hadn't planned on running when I got in the position. I was going to fill the gap and then be done. And then I went out, and it's going to sound corny, I know it, but it's from the heart. I went out with Santa Claus, with the fire department, and they drive around town through the holiday season and collect food and money to help poor people. Pretty basic. And I got to ride with them. And what was interesting was I was in the ride-along seat next to the driver, and I was invisible. And it's hard. I've been here so long that it's hard to be invisible. So here I am, invisible in the winter, driving around with Santa Claus, and I was able to see neighborhoods and citizens and homes and kids that I had never seen, kind of like down at that level, where you're just hanging out and people are running out to see Santa Claus. They're bringing money, they're bringing food, and it touched my heart. I went, you know what? These people are living here. They've never talked to any of us. They don't scream and holler. They don't bitch and moan. They just go to work. They go to school. They have these neighborhoods. And it was this very feeling of community communication with Santa Claus as a fire truck. And like I said, it sounds corny, but it touched me enough to say, you know what? Maybe I can make a difference. Maybe by seeing this, I realize all the good things that we do here. What makes this place so special? What makes it so positive? What makes it so wonderful? So that's kind of how I got hooked, because I hadn't really planned on it. And far as goals and long-term thinking, that's Gookin's thing. He knows how to fix everything. He knows what all the problems are. I'm kind of the guy that tries to keep things moving forward and positively. I spend time with the employees, making sure that they seem to be appreciated, because sometimes it's easy to whip on the people who do all the work. And
indeed,
I approach it differently that way. And that could be my service side, my restaurant side. That's what you do in a restaurant. You keep your crews happy and keep the customers happy. And so I don't have any big long-term things. There's a lot of things in the can. There's a lot of things that council is interested in, and I'm willing to guide through that. I don't have the answers to everything. I'm looking for the good things, the things that we do well, and that's kind of who I am.
Awesome. We have a question from Matt Kepster, and I'll put it up here on the screen. He says, do you have a plan for manageable growth without compromising people's freedoms, such as unwanted surveillance and smart cities or 15-minute cities? Or do you agree with smart cities and 15-minute cities?
Where do you guys come up with this stuff? So we're kind of restricted in Idaho on the city level. We don't have a lot to say about things like that. It's all from the state level. Those guys in the legislature, and they're the smart ones. They're the ones that want their things, and that's where the rule comes from. And then it trickles down to the city, and here's the new rule you have to abide by. So I think the property rights are a big deal here. If you own a piece of dirt and you're downtown, we're working on something right now to try and maybe cut back on the high rises, because I'm pretty sure council would like to tone it down. But we don't want to take away those guys who own that property, can't take their rights and say, oh no, you can't do that. So it's a process, and that's how we got there. It took many, many years to get where we're at. And the ups and downs of the economy also played a big part of when things happen and when they didn't. So I understand. I get it. The people that are living in high rises don't like the loud cars and everything. Well, when you live downtown and you're next to a street, you might hear more noise than if you were living out in the country. And so,
speaking of loud cars, I read an article today in the Coeur Press where the recent, I believe it was council meeting, people were from off of, I'm guessing, Sherman or downtown Coeur, were not happy that they feel that the noise ordinance is not being enforced and that there needs to be more done. What do you say about that?
Right. Yeah, well, we can work on it. There's no big answer to it. I grew up as a kid dragging, Van Nuys Boulevard and doing all that stuff. And I think they still do. I think when you live in an apartment right along a main drag, you're going to have that in the summertime, and there's 2 weeks left and it'll get quiet again. But I understand where they're coming from. It's just the police prioritize things more than loud noises. They're chasing the bad guys and the kid molesters and the druggies and all those criminal type guys. So again, we try and keep our taxes reasonable, and this is what we can afford. The question always comes up, what do you want to give up? We talk about that a lot in council. Do we stop doing certain programs to save money and we can put another policeman on? So yeah, the chief was there last night when we did that, and he addressed the issues, and it's not like we don't care. It's just priorities. And didn't you say you were in law enforcement at one time?
Yeah.
So I guess that's part of the game too, is who picks the priorities. I don't think I was really truly aware of that. Does the dog catcher come before the guy is going speeding on a highway or going past a red light? I don't think so, but those are the things that I kind of come away asking more questions. That doesn't necessarily fix things, but it creates the conversation to where they want a sign that says how fast you're going. That sounds pretty simple. It's what, $25,000 or something. Well, that's another one. We have portables, but is that going to fix it? My thought was the police chief is saying, no, that's not going to fix it. But my thought is, but if you put one out, you at least tried to give them what they asked for. Does that make any sense?
Yep.
It does. Now, you had mentioned, hey, I don't know where you guys are coming up with these questions. I just want to remind you, okay. Mayor McEvers, I want to remind you that some of them are the ones that we've just gone through have come in live while you're live together with us on the show tonight. Okay. So we're just kind of taking it as it comes.
Oh, no.
Another question is, when you get elected as mayor, what are the first three, or you can give us 2 or 3 action items that you will do when you get into and continue that office?
Action items. Well, first off, the way I understand our city government works is the mayor puts things out and council votes on it. And then it has to be budgeted if it's going to cost extra money. So I don't have any big goals. I just, again, I'm in more of let's keep things going. We have some pretty major cuts in our budget this year. The legislature kind of keeps skimming off money. And so we can't really do a whole lot. We are working on streets. We always have certain long-term projects out there that are all budgeted and they're planned out. The things that bother people, I know Gookin's all over this stuff. He's got a whole list of stuff that he thinks needs to be fixed, and I get it, but it's a timing thing. Government doesn't work real fast, and you have to get the buy-in from council. You have to get the votes to make it happen. So anytime you're spending money, it's not just I want this, I want that. I have to have the support from the council. So
What are the most valuable insights that you have, or your goals for the city that are the most important things that separate you from Dan Gookin? Because you have mentioned him here a few times and how he operates, and you knowing about the plans that he has for moving forward. What are those things that separate you in a positive way from Dan Gookin?
Dan and I have been together for 10, 12 years or so. And it was funny. I mean, I always gave him money during his election and he gave me money during mine. So it was funny when he called me and said, I'm going to run. And I go, well, that's great. Do I still give you money? And then you give me money. And we chuckled, and Dan's a smart guy. He's just all over this stuff. And he's a techie guy, and he's very motivated. He's very focused, and he's a thumper. He'll say it like he feels it. There's no diplomacy. That's just Dan, and I love the guy. Don't get me wrong, but we just approach things differently. I'm a gentle person. I'm a positive person. He likes to thump, and I appreciate it. He brings up things all the time we talk about that we don't have to agree on, but let's at least explore it. He likes to get to the end quickly. He likes to fix it. And I think that's great, but I don't see government real good at that. That's just my perspective on it. But I have all the respect for Dan. Again, I'm a little more gentle. I'm a little more, I don't know if the conservative is the right word, but I'm just more of a passionate type of guy about the bigger picture, the different departments, the things we do so well.
What's the best thing to order when we come into your restaurant?
Whatever you want. I mean, it's old school. It's a greasy spoon,
And we shouldn't try to come on the day that it's closed. I seem to recall
did you
there's
even
specifically
tell
a
the
day
people
that's closed?
What, for those that don't know, what his restaurant is?
Tell us, Woody. Tell us about your place.
It's a greasy spoon. Come on, 42 years. We do biscuits and gravy and bacon and eggs, and everything's
yum.
big. All the breakfasts come with 3 eggs and 4 pieces of bacon. We do pork chops and steak and chicken.
Are you going to tell us the name of your place, or are we keeping that secret?
We're just going to have to let it figure it out.
Just let you figure it out.
It's just across the street from where we are right now.
Figure it out.
Yeah, again, we've been at it for a long time. I've got a good crew. We're real basic, real simple, 6 to 2 or 7 to 2. So we have evenings off, and you live through that in the restaurant world. You chase the money, you do the liquor, you do the partying, and then you get old and you should be gone, but you're not. So you kind of cut back to a normal life. You slow
down and serve breakfast. Before we wrap this one up, I want to thank Wise Media in Hayden for the use of their remote studio tonight, making Mayor Woody McEvers look absolutely fantastic.
I like his shirt.
Yes.
Well, I didn't know you had a picture of me here. I would have worn that shirt and really messed with you. I was younger in that picture.
We would have thought, how did you know?
Yeah, well, it is sunny and warm today, so we got to work it. We got about 3 weeks left. Okay, you guys, work it.
Oh, yeah, we're not wasting one day of that nice weather.
Right. Not at all. Let me ask you one or two quick questions before you go. Hopefully you got a couple more minutes for us.
Oh, I'm here for you guys.
What is the current financial outlook for the city of Coeur d'Alene over the next 24 months or 12 months?
Yeah, the 12 months is coming up. Our budget is on our next council meeting is the 3rd of September, and that's when we have to say yes on this new budget. We are asking for a 3% increase and 1% from back taxes that we didn't take. Back when I was elected first, it was the system worked that during elections, you didn't take a tax increase. And so it was just the way it was. I never even thought about it. I went, oh, that's gentle, isn't it? So at that point, I think it's kind of caught up with us, but also the new growth legislature is starting to skim that off. And that used to help us keep up with these things.
What are they specifically doing for those that may not know when you say that they're skimming off? What are they defunding?
I think they did some legislature. I'm not quite sure about it, but it took up, I think it's 10 or 20% off of what we can claim on new growth. I mean, you think of it, they build a high rise, you think that would be a lot of money. Well, I think it was 10 years. We were doing a comparison 10 years ago when we were growing. We were receiving 800, 900,000 a year of new income, right? Not one-time money, but new revenue forevermore. And now it's 180,000. And we've exploded with high rises and apartments and all the growth. I mean, throughout town where people are tearing down the old 100-year-old buildings and the old 100-year-old houses and building $1 million babies, right? So that's kind of catching up with us now. So this year, I think what I was running some numbers in, if your house is worth 550,000, they say that's the average, and you take your exemption, which is 125,000, we are asking for the tax increase is going to be $2.42 a day. So we're going up from last year, we're going up 2 cents. That's what it costs, $84 a month. And you get police and fire and parks and streets, and we plow the snow, and we pick up your leaves and all the good things we do too, you know? So that's been the big thing. And so the idea of what's happening in this time is we're trying to cut back, you know, I think 78% of the city's budget is employees. Well, employees get raises, they have insurance, they have a lot of perks that were added back in the day when we couldn't raise the taxes or didn't raise the taxes. So it catches up eventually. And then urban renewal, those urban renewal districts, like the one down on Riverstone, that ran 25 years. I was on planning and zoning when it started. 25 years. And when it closes, all that tax money in that district was put back into it to help make it grow. And then when it closes, that tax comes to the city. So theoretically, urban renewal builds up 20 years. We support it with police and fire and streets. We do all the services of the city, but we don't get any revenue for it. So at the end, when they close the urban renewal district, the check's in the mail. Well, the legislature decided, well, that's not right. We're going to take 20% and we're going to give it back to them, and we're going to give it back to them. Well, theoretically, we've already paid for it. So that's kind of a different thing, because you do planning, when you're planning out 20 years and stuff, you're really counting on that money to sort of pay you back. So those are kind of the big ones that I saw. So, you know, I always dumb things down. I take my city taxes, divide it by 365 days. And like I said, it's $2.80 a day. That's less than a cup of coffee. And what do you get? And then my question is, what don't you want to do? What do you want to give up? Do we give up police guys or fire guys? All that stuff, you know, do we give up the parks? Do we just don't mow them, don't blow them, don't water them, you know, don't fix the streets, don't paint the lines? Again, I kind of dumb it down to basic things that I just take for granted and that I appreciate, maybe because I'm involved in it. When you ride along with a snowplow operator, let me tell you, you never look at winter the same. You have such a different viewpoint. And I think it's true. Ride along with a policeman or a fireman, and you just go, holy shit, I'm so glad you guys do this. And you give them a pat on the back, and you make sure they know that you know what they do. And that's how I see myself as mayor, is trying to talk to people, explain to them what I know. And if I don't know it, I'll figure it out. I have people that know this stuff. I don't have to know everything.
Sure. We have 2 remaining questions for you. This one comes from Blue Collar on X. He wants to know, how do you feel about LPRs or license plate readers?
Well, you don't have to have a license plate on the front of your car, so what good is that?
I hear you.
I know the police use them. They find bad guys and the drug guys and all that stuff. So I don't. I thought it was a police tool. I never thought of it as a freedom thing or you have too much information on me. I always thought, well, if you're a bad guy, you're a bad guy. If you're a good guy, what are you worried about? But again, the freedom thing is, I don't quite grasp it, but I'm certainly.
I'll tell you what. Well, we'll one of these days sit down. You and me. We'll have I'll have a cigar. You can have a beer or whatever your beverage of choice, and
right.
we'll talk philosophies on these things. And
Okay.
I'll give you kind of our perspective on it. But thanks for that question, Blue Collar. One last question from Melita Prouty Clary over on Facebook. She wants to know, what are you most proud of that has happened to Coeur d'Alene while you've been in office? I think that's a great question to end.
Probably McEwen Park. You know, that was pretty rough back in the days. It didn't get much use, and it was an expensive thing, but it really works out. It's efficient. It's really brought, I think, more people to downtown, and that's our core, you know. So I think McEwen Park and Tubbs Hill, that whole thing is pretty unique, you know. You come down and watch the turkeys and see the birds have nests up there, and it's clean, it's efficient. And now we're doing some cultural things. We do the music. Mike Kep is doing concerts in the park, and it creates a great vibe. And I know some of the people who live here don't like going downtown. It's too busy, it's too crowded, and I get it, but it's 3 months out of the year that it rocks, and then go down for the Christmas lighting and the parades. And we did that way back in the day because there was nobody coming downtown. It was part of the culture, and I get it. A lot of people don't like it now, but part of the success is we've come a long way, and, you know, we're looking at it. Is it time to dumb things down? You've probably heard about the street fair and Art on the Green and that stuff all concentrated in one weekend and pisses off some people. So again, those are issues I think that we're spinning around council. We talk about that kind of stuff all the time, and it's just a process of what do you do? And you talk to the people who own businesses downtown. It's their input. We do it for them. So I think those are things that will be coming around. Those are things we're talking about right now even. So
awesome.
That's it for me.
Well, wrap us up. Give us your closing thoughts, as if there's anything we didn't ask you or anything that you would like to say. Now's your chance.
No, I think I've pretty much said what I'm just a different dude. You know, I don't have all the answers. I don't have a lot of complaints. I'm sure there's things we can improve on, and I certainly don't have any trouble approaching that. I just approach things in a more positive way. And I think that's why I'm here. When I came to Coeur d'Alene, my mom and dad came up and retired. My dad was an Idaho guy, and I came up for the summer to help them. I was working in Palm Springs waiting tables, and in the summer in the 70s, they closed. So summertime you'd go. And I remember coming up here, and the three things that I remembered were people were friendly. You could walk down Sherman and say hi to people you don't know, and they would say hi back. The girls wore tight jeans, and I liked that. And we had a beach. The college has a frickin' beach with sand and a volleyball court. And I thought I had died and gone to heaven. And I don't have to mow my lawn all year round because there's winter and the snow is beautiful. I know.
Oh, that's great. Well, we really appreciate you taking the time to come on and to let us know your experience, your ideas, and why you're running. We look forward to watching the race this fall. Folks, if you guys have questions that didn't get answered tonight, I'm certain that Woody would be more than happy to answer them for you. Where can you be found most of the time if somebody wants to come and talk with you?
Well, I'm at City Hall a lot. The restaurant on the weekends, I'm there usually from about 8:30 to 1 or so. And then, you know what? They can reach out to me. My phone number's out there. Facebook is kind of when I don't have time to touch a lot of people. I run into people in the grocery stores and the bank and all that, but text me on Facebook. I try and reach out to people there. I don't always have the answers. But it makes me aware of things that maybe I can find some answers to. I got a kid call me on Facebook and he says, "Hey, Wood, I grew up with your son." And he said, "Oh, I remember you." And he asked me about, do the police, he said, we lived in Post Falls and we moved over here about 10 years ago. And the police in Post Falls, he said, have a thing that kids that are handicapped or social concerns or something, they had a thing where they would sign up for the police in Post Falls. So the police would know if they came across this kid, they knew how to approach him because he doesn't want to be touched, or he doesn't understand laying down on the ground, or anything that would happen in a bad situation. And so I had never heard that. So I went to the police chief and the captains and I said, "Are you familiar with this?" "Oh yeah, we're familiar with it. The difference now is that it's part of our training." Yeah. I go, "So this isn't a special needs thing. It's a part of their whole perspective on how they look at it." And I found that just fascinating. I didn't check with Post Falls. Do you still do it that way? Right. But it was something I had never heard. So those are the kind of fun things for me, is I learned something and help somebody with a question. Questions about why or what is one thing, but the other questions that I'm not real good at is, what do you think of this? Or what do you think of that? I haven't thought about it. And that's just, now you're making me think about it. Like the license plate reader, we need to talk about that so I understand it. So is it a city thing? Is it a state thing? Is it a enforcement thing? I couldn't tell you. I just couldn't, but I can certainly find out, and then listening to your side of it would be fascinating because that's the world you came from.
Yeah, indeed. Woody McEvers, I greatly appreciate your time tonight. Thank you so much for coming on, Mayor. Thank you. And you're welcome back anytime. So God bless you and your family. And we hope that you're well for the next several months.
Well, thank you, my friend. Appreciate you guys having me and taking the time.
Yep,
I think I learned a bunch of stuff.
All right.
Take care.
Thanks again.
He's the most chill candidate I have ever talked to.
I'm going to try but I was having some glitches in this program. I couldn't even put comments up on the screen without it bringing our video feed down, but it's okay now. I love how you guys have engaged in that comment section while that interview is happening. Andy said, "What a chill dude, almost too chill." Kind of laughing a little bit. But yeah, he's he's
definitely
back.
A different guy than Dan Gookin.
Yep, different personality, operates totally differently, probably has somewhat of a different worldview based on background, experiences, and just how you approach things. Where, even Woody pointed out, Dan Gookin's a hard-hitting, fast driver, get-to-the-goal type of guy. And some positive notes I was hearing about Woody, as he shared with us tonight, was that he's open to listening. So if there's something he doesn't know about, he's just he's gonna be forthright and transparent. I don't know, but he made it pretty clear that he's also open to learning and hearing differences of opinion, because it helps him know what it is that's important to the people and where his focus should maybe be going on things that he hasn't, entertained to this point.
Yeah, indeed. Well, we had a snafu earlier. My video did not play. Hopefully,
you want to see what
going
happened?
into the next and final segment, the video will play on Able One. But in the meantime, we want to point out that next week, which is the 27th, we're going to be coming to you live an hour earlier. We're going to start an hour earlier at 6 p.m. We are going to be live streaming the Board of County Commissioner meeting, the final budget adoption. And we are going to be watching to find out specifically if the Board of Commissioners, namely Mark Eberline and Leslie Duncan, are going to recant their initial belief that the LPRs did not need to be funded this year, as they told Bob Norris, or whether or not they're going to go ahead and cave and give in and fund Norris's $24,000 budget request. So next week, we're going to be monitoring and commenting on that live stream. They live stream all of these on YouTube. So it'll be fascinating if this is the one time now that they know that we're going to be on.
Yeah.
And
yes, a couple of key points on this one. We put out an invitation to you that if you can and you have an opinion and facts and information that you want to present, but be in front of the Board of County Commissioners prior to their vote. That's Wednesday, August 27th. So a week from tonight. It's 6 to 9 p.m. We've got the address posted. We can put it again in the comment section. But that is your opportunity to show up live and in person, bring your friends and family with you, and take a chance at the podium to present. And so we are simulcasting and rebroadcasting that. So for those of you who won't be able to make it into attendance, we want to further amplify the voice of the people in a way that just is not typical for Kootenai County, because oftentimes these presentations by boards of county commissioner or town halls, they aren't necessarily acceptable or accessible depending on the days and times. This one is in the evening after work hours. So they're making a pathway. So if you can be present there, make your voices heard, because really it's a difference between what you have to say about the introduction of the license plate reader program in Kootenai County versus whatever argument and supposed evidence that Bob Norris brings. And he will have an army of deputies, I assume, and other retired LE to come and present also.
At previous town halls on the subject, he has literally brought up all the owls. And that's a saying for all these Southern California cops that are now up in North Idaho. They're officers without legal status, owls. And he'll bring all these gray hairs to come in. These guys were cops their entire life, and now they're retiring on a fat paycheck. Many of them, like Bob, they're friends with Bob, and Bob brings them down because they have nothing better to do than to tell the commissioners and the public how helpful. And if it just saves one life, I mean, if it saves one child, if it saves an officer from being murdered, hell, based on their argument, let's just get rid of the Fourth Amendment right now. Because if your argument is that the means and methods of the tools that you're using to supposedly protect the public can violate people's things like Fourth Amendment rights, then who cares, right? Then why do we even have the Fourth Amendment? Now, we know that the Supreme Court has ruled that LPR usage is legal, but not everything the Supreme Court says is right. We know this. Look, on both sides, the right and the left, you have landmark decisions where you claim victory because a ruling proved that previous rulings were wrong. They were unconstitutional. You're seeing a lot of pushback right now. In fact, I had an article that was sent to me today by Jen. I didn't have a chance to pull it up. Maybe you can. We're not the only ones that are talking about this, folks. It is becoming a problem around the country. And I'm going to bring up something about Kootenai County. Kootenai County is moving towards the cloud. So there are no more, my understanding is there will no longer be servers where this data is locally stored. Now, how in the hell can you guarantee that the data that they're collecting on every vehicle, remember, they're not just, when I was a patrolman running in a car, I had a laptop like this, and I would run plates as I would pass them, and I'd run them, and all I'd get is a return. Are they a wanted person? Are the tabs expired? Does the person have a warrant? Do they have criminal history? Whatever. LPRs are scanning hundreds of plates per minute, and it doesn't matter. It's scanning every freaking plate that their cameras can see. And they're taking that data. We showed you last week, Bob Norris's truck being videoed dozens of times in California and right here in Idaho, and the public got access to it. But think about this. They're running this LPR recognition software on, let's just call it 50 vehicles, between 40 and 50 vehicles. And it's only costing $24,000 a year.
We had a comment here just a bit ago. It says there's no way.
So think about
no
this.
way LPRs.
In my company, and maybe those of you who have companies can understand this and attest to this, we all use software today, proprietary software for whatever discipline that we're in. And I know that several of the software seats that I have to purchase are well over $24,000 a year for our organization. That's nowhere near 50. So why are they giving it to the county for so low? Why so low of a price? They only make money on the cameras one time. You sell the camera, and then it's the continual use of the software. So it's only $24,000 a year.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, folks. Last year when I was running, I put in a records request to the county specifically asking over the past 4 years how many times Kootenai County had engaged in a cybersecurity audit. And out of those times, how many times did they pass or fail? I didn't ask for the particulars. I didn't ask what the vulnerabilities were. I didn't ask where the deficiencies were. And what I received, and it went all the way through legal, and I argued with Kootenai County attorneys over this because I said, look, I don't want the gory details. I just want to know, has Kootenai County passed or has it not passed its cybersecurity audits? And they refused to give me that information. They based it on potentially exposing the county to risk if word got out. Well, if word got out of what? Yes or no? Which tells me, my gut tells me that when they answer that way, what they're saying is, no, we have been breached. Our security has been breached, and we just don't want to talk about it.
No,
because if they were successful, what's the harm in saying, hey, we've had audits for X amount of years and we're passing with flying colors. But according to the county, you don't need to know.
Well, you've got Bob Norris out on social media today saying that they've never had a data breach in terms of at least specifically related to the LPR software.
Bob, you apparently don't know this thing called Google. And Bob, all you have to do is Google Motorola. Type in Vigilant software. Put in breach. You're going to find out how many times California cities have sued Motorola, and city governments have been sued because of data breaches on LPRs. You're going to find out people that have had to sue over wrong arrests. We showed you a video of a kid just this last December on YouTube showing how he could break into an LPR remotely. The Vigilant software and the LPR cameras by Motorola, I think they're the M500s. And he showed us live how it happens. In fact, went to a security bulletin by Motorola talking about security issues where they had to perform fixes. So don't tell us, Bob Norris, Mr. I ran these LPRs in demo mode for months before Dan Wilson caught you in the act with zero policies, with no retention policies. You didn't even know where any of this stuff was going. And we know because by records request, the day after I came out with my evidence and presented it before the Board of County Commissioners in a letter, within 12 hours, the original document by the document properties was being drafted, the new LPR policies by Under Sheriff Brett Nelson. And last week we spoke about the fact that LPRs do not deter crime. There's no statistical evidence to show any kind of reduction in crime or crime prevention. And in fact, there are no studies. I'm going to say this loud and clear. Zero studies that provide any evidence that LPRs are officer safety positive. I'm going to say that again. No LPR studies have ever shown that these LPRs contribute to officer safety. And it's too bad that my video didn't work. I'm a dumb carpenter at the end of the day. But I wanted to show how many times Bob Norris goes before the county commissioners and other elected officials and the public, and he cries, officer safety, little Nick Franson, you know, the FOP president.
We did have a comment earlier that he has not been the FOP president for probably about the last 9 months. I don't have that verified.
But let me say it, at the time of the video a year ago, he came up and spoke in his uniform saying, hey, I was at a fire. Sorry, I couldn't change. I'm here on my own time, but I'm Nick Franson and I represent the FOP. So, I mean, point taken if he's no longer there. But at the time when he testified for officer safety, he very much was representing, even though don't look at me in uniform. Don't be persuaded, people in uniform. And he talks about officer safety again. But, he's concerned about the data. He would not sign off. Little Nick Franson would not sign off on it if he had all believed that his data, that his personal information was compromised. So anyway.
We have an informant over on X, Blue Collar. Again, take this for what it's worth. But Blue Collar says, listen, I've installed thousands of cameras. Such a project would cost hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. The other article that was released by the Institute for Justice is that they got a new nationwide campaign seeking to stop warrantless use of license plate reader cameras. So as we're talking about this in Kootenai County, and the citizens who have been concerned, or those in opposition to Dan Wilson's message about LPRs being used for the gathering of data, and then you really cannot control ultimately where that goes, and it will be used in the future with the AI to predict your whereabouts in the future. This has obviously been a nationwide concern. And so the Institute for Justice announced the launch of a nationwide campaign to push back against the arbitrary and unrestrained use of automatic license plate reader cameras in thousands of American communities. And they, jumping forward in this a little bit, I'd put the link to this article in the comment section, so go find that. It's a quick read. You definitely are going to want to read through this one. The Fourth Amendment problems with this unregulated mass surveillance are only getting worse as communities around the country begin using ALPRs or expanding their existing surveillance networks. And that was attorney Michael Seufer. He goes on in that quote, but again, follow the link to that article there and just understand that this isn't a local concern, as we've got local FOP guys and deputies coming up to testify, and Norris telling you it's for officer safety, it's for community safety.
Well, look, he's got the FOP squad. Those goons, you are goons. You're the deputy gang of Kootenai County Sheriff's Office. He has them doing what he wants because, remember, they're basically inseparable. They raise money to get him elected. He rewards them by command staff positions. Their PAC raises money. He lets them use the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office badge to illegally put that badge on mailers of candidates they're supporting. You deputies are on the wrong side of history. Anybody that is for LPRs, I'm telling you right now, unequivocally, you are on the wrong side of history. I'm going to tell you a little something. I actually used these LPRs over 10 plus years ago when I was with the city of Spokane. We were in one of two cars that used these things. They were more primitive at the time. And they were a pain in the butt because they gave bad hits. But let me tell you that most officers that are being honest today, think about this. They're not putting it on just 2 or 3. They're putting them on, and they have put these cameras on over 40-some vehicles. We can never get a straight answer because it changes all the time. But most officers that operate these things know that they're not a net advantage because half the time they give false reads. They alert when they're not supposed to. They're a distraction. They're actually an officer safety issue because they take your eyes off of the road because they're always hitting on somebody that's wanted. The reality of it is that these LPRs are not really liked by rank and file officers. So why are they pushing it so hard? They're pushing it because it's data. In fact,
has to be.
I received a previous article from 2008 that I'd never read before by who was it that sent it to me? I'll remember their name in just a second here. Somebody here locally. And it was talking about Kootenai County and Post Falls when they first got their fixed LPRs and a couple for patrol vehicles back in 2008. And at the time, they quoted Motorola. It's all about data. They want the metadata, and they are still using it. Go back 2 weeks ago.
And that was back 2008.
Go back 2 episodes ago, episode 31 of the Liberty Without Compromise show, and you will see exactly how groups like Palantir can extract the data off of the server while you can technically say you have the data and it's not going anywhere, but how they're accumulating it. So anyway.
Tim Dunn on Facebook says any AI program or software can be exploited. Also, the FOP is not supposed to be there to represent the sheriff.
Right.
That's
look. We've talked about the ethics issues with the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office. This is one of the reasons that I ran, is to put a stop to the fraternizing that the deputies are doing with Bob Norris. You don't do that with your employees. You set the standard. You are the leader, but you don't fraternize and be part of the drinking buddy crowd. Like Deputy Jason Shaw, former Deputy Jason Shaw. Bob Norris wasn't drinking with him right before he got into his car accident.
Yeah, we got a story on that over on YouTube. That's a good reminder to subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's the Idaho Sheriff. If you want to know more, actually, you get the audio from the interview from the incident that Dan was just referencing. That is a great video that I think hasn't gotten enough airplay, and it's over on our YouTube channel at the Idaho Sheriff.
One of the reasons that I think that I'm an authority on this is because I was a reserve police officer for 12 years. I did the job. I had the certification. I swore an oath. I had my own patrol car. I performed my own police services like any other full authority officer would. But I wasn't a cop 24/7. So there was no tainting. There was no colored glasses, blue line colored glasses on my head, where there's a lot of really dang good cops. I had the pleasure of working with many, and I'm still friends with these guys. But when you do nothing but law enforcement from the time that you're a young kid until you're midlife, it's like Woody said earlier, when you get out and explore the world outside of your bubble, you realize that it's not exactly the way you think it is inside your bubble. And I'm telling you, because of the fact that I was in my reserve capacity, I still had common sense. I still had my pulse on what it's like to be outside of the law enforcement bubble. So what better person to get the inside scoop from than me? Rookie of the Year, my very first year. Many awards with my agency for my service and my lifetime service award. I wasn't somebody that was in IA or constantly being disciplined. I had a flawless service record. So I'm shooting you straight when I tell you this stuff. A man that will not compromise liberty has to shoot you straight, which means that I'm going to be at odds with a lot of law enforcement people and a lot of you shameless Republicans who call yourselves conservative. And if Biden were in office right now, you guys would be all over yourself, wringing your hands. Oh, the surveillance state, they're coming after us. But because it's a Republican in office and you have a Republican sheriff, no worries. We don't have to worry about it. Let's see if this video for the helicopter is going to play.
Let's give it a try.
Give us a second here and we'll cue it up. Mike, let's see if we got any audio on it. I'm going to put it on pause real quick here. What we have is we have a couple of weeks ago, the Coeur d'Alene Press put out an article. Now, those of you who have followed me for any length of time know how much I loathe and despise this debacle the Kootenai Regional Air Support Unit volunteer helicopter program. And over a year ago, I called out the liability issues. I called out the special favoritism that was taking place with the tribe and Bob Norris pulling deputies off of patrol down in the tribal lands of Kootenai County, cross-deputizing tribal law enforcement to perform law enforcement services for both tribal and non-tribal members, and abdicated his responsibility there. So I found it hilarious. I've told you that the helicopter has been grounded since September of last year. Kootenai County was in the Coeur d'Alene Press back August 8th. Kootenai County Sheriff Office helicopter has not been used for law enforcement purposes for almost a year. Officials confirmed Thursday through the county and sheriff's office, though the county and sheriff's office are working to resolve liability issues that have kept it grounded. Able 1 was last used for law enforcement activity traffic stops, specifically September 12th, 2024. Folks, that's almost 11 months to the day that it has not flown at the time of this article. They found some discrepancies in the insurance policy for the county, Lieutenant Mark Ellis said. Remember, Mark Ellis oversees the Regional Air Support Unit. He also happens to be the registered agent and I think the CEO or CFO of the Kootenai Regional Air Support Unit, the nonprofit. They claim 501c3.
Now, do you know if that's still the case, or have they reworked or restructured that as they're trying to represent it?
That doesn't matter for this article.
All right.
So June 29th, says they found some discrepancies in the insurance policy for the county. Kootenai County Sheriff Bob Norris touched on the issue during a July news conference about the June 29th shooting and fire on Canfield Mountain. During the incident, a Spokane County helicopter provided support. Very important to note. Able 1 was down for maintenance at this particular time. Remember, we're going to show this video here in a few minutes. We're going to hear Bob and Lieutenant Ellis contradicting these statements when they were selling this to the county commissioners. However, after it was down, there was an area of the workman's comp insurance that was identified that we could do better on, that we were deficient in. He goes on to say that the aircraft's been utilized for nonprofit training and maintenance and that kind of thing, but it has not been utilized for law enforcement functions or search and rescue functions since August or September 12th. Kootenai County Regional Air Support Unit will remain an independent contractor under the proposed agreement because they're trying to renew this MOU that they're now calling a lease. And they're going to maintain $2 million liability insurance, naming the county as additionally insured. Commissioners Leslie Duncan indicated that the proposed agreement will be reviewed by the Idaho County's Risk Management Program, that's ICRIMP, the county's insurance provider, and the Federal Aviation Administration before it goes before commissioners again during the future business meeting. Okay, had to read that. We're going to continue to play this video, and I'm going to comment on it. So thanks for queuing that up. I'm playing it. Is it stalled again? No, here it goes.
What are we looking at here?
We just went over the article that I can't print out yet.
This is portions of the article that Dan read.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was
since
from
we
Kootenai
last
Journal.
talked, the Kootenai County Regional Air Support Unit.
This is in 2022, October 2022. Mark Ellis, Lieutenant Mark Ellis, Sheriff Norris, sitting before the Board of County Commissioners.
It was informed. It's a 501c3 nonprofit. We have Todd Stam, Terry Forster, Don Ahorn, Chris Finley, Ron and Randy McIntyre of Super One each donate $100,000 to the unit, and the Coeur d'Alene tribe donated $200,000 to our unit for a total of $700,000. We have purchased a 1994 Bell 206B3 helicopter. We've purchased all the equipment for it as well right now.
Okay. Notice a few things. Notice that Ellis keeps saying we purchased it. He names the entities that provided $100,000, Todd Stam of Aspen Homes,
I picked up on the we immediately. When he said that.
Ron and Randy McIntyre from Super One Foods, Terry Forrester from Labor Consultants. Remember, they're the ones that provide the special visas for the Mexicans that work all of the agricultural and forestry around here. We've talked about that before. Todd Stam, Aspen Homes. Who else did I say? Finley. And Don Ahern. Don Ahern is the billionaire.
I call him Ahorn, but I think it's Ahern.
Don Ahern is the billionaire that runs Extreme Manufacturing and Ahern Rentals. Billionaire, owns land up here. He can be seen frequently with Bob Norris and Bruce Matari.
Doesn't he own a big convention center in Vegas?
Yeah, he owns a casino down in Vegas.
Convention center.
He also is in trouble because he sold about $750 million worth of generators to a bunch of investors, big names like Geico or Progressive. I'm going to get some of these names wrong, so they're not exact quotes. When he didn't deliver, the ruling came out against him, and then he got caught trying to liquidate his assets to his other company. So this is real stand-up Republican for you guys. But he says So Mark is claiming this is his, and he's the lieutenant overseeing the proposed volunteer helicopter program. Let's go ahead and keep playing.
So what we would like to bring forward as an action item is a 2-year pilot program that will not cost Kootenai County taxpayers any money. And let's just try it for 2 years.
County essentially is going to be minimal impact if you use asset forfeiture funds plus the $10,000 that was already going to Spokane. So that's kind of essentially $10,000 general fund dollars at this point is all you're requesting. Is that?
If we can stop that money from going to Spokane, because they are in a high degree of flux right now.
I think we still have a little bit of insurance to work out in this program.
Interesting.
But it's hard for me to say no when you have a group of individuals in the community who want to fund this project. So Chris, they have two to bring something forward.
You know, they can bring it forward, but I don't think we're going to get a favorable response from them.
Okay, fair enough. All right, anything?
I would just like to say that I hope that in the interest of public safety, what's been your objection to use tube air for the last 7 years? And why haven't you objected to that, Commissioner Felios?
And that's an LLC. Is it a 501?
Okay. So I'm obviously cutting because I'm trying to get to the major things. The constant stating of Bob stating, this is not going to cost the county anything. $10,000 that we were originally paying Spokane County to use their Superior aircraft. We're going to give it to this new, quote, nonprofit that we proved was not a nonprofit up until just a couple months ago. So Mark Ellis apparently lied on that one as well. You have the person that was on the phone that was former county commissioner back in 2022, Chris Filios. Filios was replaced by Special Deputy Bruce Matari, and he was not for the helicopter. So Leslie Duncan was for it, and Bill Brooks. They came in October of 22 to present the idea. It's not going to cost anything. Then they went before them again, as you're now looking at this video, another county commissioner meeting from February of 23, when they're finally getting the authorization to use this. So let's go ahead and keep watching this, and then we'll just keep the video screen up and we'll talk in the background.
It's a 501c3.
Okay. Okay. Is that it?
That's it. I mean, I guess the only other one is that people who donate, it's tax deductible, right?
It is.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, that's a lie. I proved this last year. We could never find, even though the helicopter, the Kootenai Regional Air Support Unit, was registered as a nonprofit in the state of Idaho as a private corporation, the IRS never had any filings of Kootenai Regional Air Support Unit or any derivative of having been authorized by the IRS to be a nonprofit. So they were getting money, we believe, through the search and rescue 501c3 of the county. And then in turn, they were funneling that money to the regional air support. You know that there was a couple donors that were getting ticked off. I personally sent money to them via credit card, never received any kind of a tax deductible receipt. You just heard Mark Ellis, Lieutenant Mark Ellis, remember the guy that's not supposed to lie because he's a cop? And he tells Bruce Matari, yeah, you know, it's tax deductible. I went on the Kootenai, in fact, we showed this last year during the campaign. I went on their website, used an American Express. I gave a donation. Then I emailed them and asked them, where's my tax deductible receipt? They never responded. I contacted American Express. American Express traced the payment all the way to a special equipment leasing and lending company out of California. That's right. My donation, my $5 through American Express, I have the records for anybody that really wants to see them, was pushed all the way through to California to some lending company. So I just want to keep you guys reminded of all of the lies that Mark Ellis and Bob Norris stated before the county commissioners as they were selling this helicopter.
Okay, I appreciate that. And then, so just so the citizens are aware, I mean, the LLC is covering insurance, it's covering all maintenance, and they're hoping to get donations in case we have part failures or just replacing parts out of normal wear and tear. And then I think the only other thing is if you wanted to speak to the pilots. 30, board approval request. This is the use of asset forfeiture account funds for spotlight and camera, which is equipment for our new partner.
Yes, for the air unit helicopter, we're looking to purchase a thermal camera, a spotlight, and all the associated cameras, as well as screens that will be placed on board the air supports helicopter. These are all detachable items. They will be serialized and tracked through the asset forfeiture program, and we've already sought permission through the DOJ to make sure that this is allowed.
Okay. Questions, motion?
I move that we approve the request to use use of asset forfeiture account funds for the spotlight and camera for the air program.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks,
Aye.
Commissioner Matari,
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye. All right, motion passes. Thank you.
Andy, you are 100% correct when you say civil asset forfeiture is evil. Anything that bypasses due process, in my opinion, no matter how heinous they claim that it is a violation of the Constitution, the Bill of Rights. Now, going back to what you just heard, this was a condensed. You can go to the YouTube video. It's still there at the county's website from, I think it was February 23rd, 2028. They authorized the termination or the suspension of the memo of understanding that they had with Spokane County's air unit to give that $10,000 to enter into a memo of understanding with this all volunteer helicopter. And they're only going to, take $10,000 that was originally going to Spokane. Oh, and by the way, we need $100,000 of equipment, and we're asking you to take the civil asset forfeiture money, and we want to equip this helicopter that the county doesn't own, that's owned by a private corporation, a spotlight and a forward-looking infrared camera. Of course, they put other things on. By the way, they approve that. You just heard the county commissioner say, yeah, go ahead. I did a records request. Mark Ellis, nor the county, the clerk, nobody could ever provide me any receipts of the items that were purchased and how much they cost to install. And I'll also tell you this. We know that when Bob says it wasn't going to cost the county anything, he forgot to tell you that they paid deputies to put that helicopter on a flatbed, pull it behind a pickup truck all the way down to California to have the equipment put on it. Now, we've talked, and we're not going to go into it tonight, all of the pay for play schemes that are going on, including one of the volunteer pilots who happens to have been a pilot from Huntington Beach PD. He crashed his helicopter in the line of duty due to pilot error. He was traveling back and forth between Kootenai County and Huntington Beach. And then the crash occurred into the ocean. He killed his partner. He can no longer work, is my understanding. And he comes up here to Kootenai County to live full time. And once you know, he happens to be the salesman, and I have this proof, I've shown it to you. He is the salesman of record for the license plate recognition software that the county wants to fund through Bob Norris. And one of the owners of the helicopter happens to be one of those guys that, gives visas to those people that are working in our local forests and crops because, normal Americans won't do those jobs. All right, let's go ahead and keep playing. Right here, you have Kootenai Journal. Kootenai Journal run by Charity No Joy. She, by the way, if you look at campaign finances, you'll find that Bob Norris paid her hundreds, if not thousands, I'll just say hundreds of dollars last year during the campaign for consulting fees or advertising. Back when we were bringing the heat on, you have old Charity. She writes a puff piece on the helicopter about all the virtues and how great it is and what a liar Dan Wilson is. I want to quote a few things that she had to say. She says, quote, "The MOU requires the nonprofit to carry a minimum of $2 million in general liability insurance, and the county's insurance policies through the Idaho County Risk Management Program, ICRIMP, also carries the same minimum coverage." So they're basically saying dual insured, $4 million aggregate, right? Since this is the first air support program in Idaho, ICRIMP actually had to create a new coverage section for aviation to meet the county's insurance needs. This is such a pioneer program. No one has ever done it, stated Ellis. Idaho can be a little bit slow in a lot of stuff, so this was a learning thing for the state of Idaho. When asked, county administration officials verified its insurance policy specifically covers the air support operations and the nonprofit provided. So, Charity, the reporter, claims that she asked county administration officials and verified the insurance policies. Well, I thought that was fascinating because prior to that, I had been contacting Leslie Duncan, who was the chairman of the county commissioner. She also happened to be I believe it's District 1 trustee of ICRIMP North Idaho. And I sent her an email and I basically said, hey, we would like to come in. Some of my team who happen to be former Air Bureau chiefs for large agencies in California, like Los Angeles Sheriff's Department, Huntington Beach. I had them ready to go with me specifically to review the documents. When Mark Ellis registered the helicopter with the Federal Aviation Administration, he registered it to the Kootenai County Sheriff's address. He used the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office phone number. When he registered as a corporation with the state, they used the Kootenai County Sheriff's 5500 North Government Way address as well. Several of my team that specialized, that was their job in California for many years, running these bureaus, contacted the Federal Aviation Administration locally and said, hey, we want to see the registration on this. Is it registered as a public use or as private use? And has it actually got all of its checklists done? These were things that we went to Leslie Duncan and said, hey, we want to, as the ICRIMP representative, we want to come in and examine the records. We want to see the insurance policies naming the county. And Leslie said, there are none. ICRIMP has nothing to do with this. A couple months later, after Charity ran this puff piece running interference for Bob Norris, I reached out to Leslie and I asked her again. I said, hey, according to this Kootenai Journal article, they're claiming that ICRIMP signed off on this. They had to be creative. There's $2 million policies. And Leslie says, no, the Kootenai Journal's wrong. This is what I was playing here in my video. We'll go ahead and let that roll and we'll keep moving on. But I want to keep showing you guys. I was saying that there was an insurance and a licensing issue registration issue on this a very, very long time ago. Keep playing this video. We're almost going to get through it here. This is a little aggravating that this thing's not working as fast as it normally should. But if I try to drop it.
It's moving along just fine. It's just I have to use our video photo versus this. So if you want it to move forward, you just, keep it playing.
So what you're seeing right now is different records requests I sent into the county asking specifically for these insurance.
On our special meeting agenda with the Sheriff's Department.
I asked for specific insurance documents proving that this helicopter really had the insurance per what the MOU required. They were never able to produce it. Not a one of them. The clerk, the Board of County Commissioners, the Sheriff's Office, they never provided me. And I said a year ago, this insurance supposedly that the helicopter has is non-existent. And this county is at extreme exposure for all the incompetency of Bob Norris, who claims that he ran a large law enforcement agency for a large city contracting with the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, 150 employees. He's a guy that understands critical incidents. You look at everything that Bob Norris does and you realize the guy padded his resume, and not a damn one of you, especially shame on you at the KCRCC, that voted for this guy without verifying his actual work history and his peer reviews and what his actual personnel files said, and ask him why in the world was he scrubbing his information off the internet using Reputation Defender with campaign dollars. This guy and Mark Ellis, you're in competition with your brother Dave Ellis, who's the undersheriff of Spokane County. So you guys claimed that we needed this helicopter right here in Kootenai County. You claimed that it was critical to the operation and safety of this county, and yet, by all the reports, because you won't come out and say that Dan Wilson was correct, showing that you didn't have the right insurance, and it took you almost a year to figure it out, Bob comes in and he lies by omission when he says during the Canfield shooting, when asked by Aaron Barnard of the Kootenai Spectator, another sycophant of Bob's, why the helicopter wasn't flying. And he says, well, it wasn't flying because it was having maintenance issues. Well, it's had maintenance issues for the past year. And as we have found out, we'll go through this, the funds aren't coming in. And the bottom line is you've had 2 years in this trial, and 1 year you were out of operation, and we didn't get a damn thing for the $10,000 that we paid to this regional air support unit. And apparently the commissioners, Eberlein and Duncan, I've requested from them, are you guys going to demand any of that money back? What are you going to do? They don't respond. Apparently they don't need to respond to Dan Wilson's questions because I'm a troublemaker. Not even a courtesy, yeah, I got it, or go get bent or whatever. But we're seeing now, as we're going to continue to play them in their own words, this shell game that they've been playing when they're trying to play big municipality that you just ain't.
Department. I'm calling this meeting to order. In attendance are Commissioners Eberlein, Duncan, and Commissioner Matari has joined us by phone. Are there changes to the agenda? Okay, public comment. Okay, hearing none. Our one and only item is the consideration of the helicopter lease. And I'll just start off real quick by saying what this is and what it isn't. It's an update to the board, and it is for further direction on what the next steps are. And then when the steps that are going to be outlined today are followed, then we'll be able to bring it to a business meeting and get that inked and be on our way. We do have an executive session planned. Because there's some information from our outside attorney that we want to make sure gets relayed to the board. So with that, I'll turn it over to Lieutenant Ellis.
Thank you, Commissioner. So what we have before you today is a new use lease agreement that the attorney has drafted up. And so I'll go over a synopsis of some of the details of it, and then I'll answer any questions you can. This agreement is replacing the prior May 9th, 2023 contract. It is a 12-month auto-renewing annually contract. It provides 120 days notice. It also has an early termination requirement of 91 days notice that's mutually agreed upon by both parties.
120. We're keeping 120 in there.
Excuse me, 120 days.
Okay.
The agreement is to utilize a 1994 Bell 206B helicopter that is currently owned by the Kootenai County Regional Air Support Unit. It is strictly limited to a public aircraft operations, a PAO. It's including law enforcement, search and rescue, tactical training, and maintenance flights. There's no commercial or inter-hospital patient transports. The county is to continue to pay the $10,000 annually. The Kootenai County Regional Air Support is responsible for all operational costs, including fuel, maintenance, and insurance, which goes through privately funded donations. The Kootenai County Regional Air Support responsibilities include supplying qualified pilots and ensuring airworthiness, conducting maintenance per FAA standards, ensuring only pilots and qualified non-crew members are on board, maintaining compliance with FAA and all applicable laws, and ensuring county-owned onboard equipment and naming the county as a loss payee. The county responsibilities include directing when and where the helicopter is used, coordinating operations while deferring to the pilot in command for all flight safety decisions, ensuring only appropriate personnel are on board during.
There's a reason flights. I'm playing this. Keep playing it.
The equipment ownership, the various flight and surveillance equipment purchased by the county remains county property. The Kootenai County Regional Support must return all equipment upon termination and limit access to use to persons if sensitive restricted U.S. persons. The Kootenai County Regional Air Support is continued to be an independent contractor. They will. All right,
I'm going to see if I can speed any of this up. What you're hearing just a couple weeks ago before they went into executive session, the Board of County Commissioners hearing Mark Ellis once again trying to sell, hey, we want to continue this lease. Now they're not calling it an MOU, they're calling it a lease. And here's the facts, folks. It was supposed to be a 2-year trial. If your aircraft has not been airworthy and in flight for the past year, 50% of that time, why in the hell is the county even considering this? Why in the hell are they giving them another chance when it's clear from what Mark Ellis is saying? And by the way, a couple months ago, Darren Murphy, counsel for Kootenai County, came before the commissioner, said, hey, we need $10,000 to go to outside counsel that specializes in aviation language, contractual language. What does all this point to? That this dumb reserve, this guy that had no experience, KCRCC, Brent Reagan, and all you other sycophants, knew over a year ago the incompetency and the exposure of this debacle and called it out. And a sheriff ought to shut the shit out of this thing right now. It would be dead on arrival. We'd have entered back into an agreement with Spokane. And yet Leslie Duncan and Mark Eberline seem like ready. It wasn't going to cost us any more than we paid $10,000. For what? We've proven if it hasn't flown in a year, it's not important. What am I missing here? What's the incompetency right now of the current Board of County Commissioners? Look, if you're just listening to the hearing just to hear it, why are you wasting the time? Why are we spending money from the coffers to figure out how to write the contract correctly for these idiots? Why did we have to have, for the Canfield incident, why did we have to have a Spokane County helicopter arrive, as well as, I think, a Homeland Security helicopter? Are you in Kootenai County at all upset that this is going on? Or is Dan Wilson the only person that's bitching and pointing all this stuff out? And if you are, what are you doing about it? Unbelievable to me what's going on right now. And all of you seem to be okay with it out there because nobody's lighting up the phones going, yeah, we don't need this helicopter. We want our $10,000 back. They use it most of the time anyway to fly into events to make kids happy, to make the parents all want to give to the regional air support unit. The video goes on, and we'll do a special segment sometime.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you could give me like the 30-second cliff note, and I really think you just did there in kind of a final point on that segment. I would actually, I don't know if you can give us a 5-minute version on that video we had earlier, because and I know we can come back and do a special, but we have a captive audience right now, a lot who have joined us live, and this issue of LPRs in Kootenai County is so hot right now, and it's a week out from the Board of County Commissioners voting on adding that budget to fund the program for Sheriff Bob Norris. I'd love to hear some of those clips that we didn't get to. And it was just a matter of shuffling between our camera and then making that full screen. Can you give me a 5-minute version of that? Or is there a portion in the video where we can hear? I want to talk about the aspect of how they're quote unquote selling this.
This LPRs?
Yes, the
Well,
LPRs.
You can try playing it again. Maybe the software's finally caught up. If we do the first 2 minutes, it really is all the sound bites that mattered to me.
In the first 2
minutes of the
okay, because it seemed to be
video.
those were some stills. And
Well,
not
that
the video.
wasn't, so for whatever reason, I don't know why it was playing towards the middle of the video, but we'll try it one more time. That first original video, if it plays, it should have played this is towards the end. This was my records request.
The needle was right at the beginning of the video.
I don't know then. Operator
can-
failure by
can-
Dan
Is
Wilson,
there any
but
way-
I may fail.
Do you see
Yeah,
there were
we'll just keep playing it.
There were video clips
There we go.
in here.
Well,
So
Like I
that's-
said, we've had it since, for about 16 years now. It is in my opinion, an officer safety feature
There you go.
for that deputy that is in that car that we've invested hundreds of thousands of dollars in, to know that there is somebody that's dangerous in front of him or her. So, I want to do it as soon as possible. So there is an officer safety feature to
Officer safety
this
again.
particular technology.
At this point, I would be in favor of taking out the 24,000. Right now, I know that there's still 6 months left on the contract, which I understand we're going to be getting updated numbers, but I would feel more comfortable cutting that now and not leaving it in the budget.
May I be heard? So can I assume that your position would be to keep the technology but not store it?
whatever that means. What does that mean?
Well,
even-
Or to cancel the contract?
so not renew the contract after December.
Okay, but what about for the officer safety
Ooh, what
component
about
to this?
officer
Well,
safety?
I don't have any information here to help me with the officer safety thing. I don't have
Well, then can we
anything
go
to go
back?
off
Can we
that.
start? This technology is an officer safety feature. I'm asking the board to approve that. That is a officer safety feature. That is a investigative tool.
Do you want to keep the $24,000 in for the mobile license plate readers?
No.
All right, so it sounds like we have 2 commissioners who want to cut the ALPR from the budget. Am I understanding that correctly?
Right now,
So
yes.
officer safety doesn't matter to you folks. Commissioners, Mr. Chairman, in November of last year, the voters of this county overwhelmingly elected me to be their sheriff by about a 50%, 48% margin. And there was another candidate, I don't remember his name, but he ran on the subject of ALPRs, automated license plate readers. And that candidate came in 48% behind me. This county has entrusted me that I would safeguard this information, that this information would only be used for crime fighting and officer safety. We even started the program late because I did a town hall meeting and invited members of the community to come so they could hear the real facts about the ALPR, not the misinformation that was out in the community by certain individuals or groups. I did talk to Commissioner Eberlein. He is very supportive of officer safety, and I have assured him that, and all the voters of this county, that this will only be used for crime fighting and officer safety purposes only.
All right. We've got the point. We didn't even, because of my inability to put
Did we
these
miss
videos
some-
together.
some
There
of-
is a whole bunch, including little Nick Franson.
Yes. So, and
All
the
5'2" of Nick Franzen.
the point that I wanted to make is that Bob Norris had deployed this program and he never really had messaging for the public, for the voting citizens of Kootenai County. He didn't have public relations messaging put together about those LPRs because I really thought, or I believe that he really thought that he was just going to implement the technology, fly under the radar, and nobody was going to ask any questions.
He wants to turn us into Los Angeles.
Well, so once he had to create the public relations aspect when he was getting pushback from the community and like, wait a second, that then became the messaging that he was obviously advised, officer safety, officer safety, officer
Well, he
safety.
said it even about the helicopter. If you dare
Yes.
to step out against him, citizen or gullible elected officials, all he has to say is officer safety. And ask him, show me the evidence, Bob. Show me the evidence. Show me any peer-reviewed study, scientific, empirical, whatever, that clearly shows that these LPRs provide an ounce of officer safety. Because they don't. There are no studies. If there were, they would be rolling them out. But what we found is the NIJ says they don't even stop crime. They don't reduce crime. They're not a deterrent.
But
Leslie Duncan,
that is everything he's
don't
presenting.
be conned by Bob Norris. Mark Eberlein, seriously, do not listen to what your attorneys are telling you. I'm telling you, I have shown you weeks of evidence showing you that these systems can and do get hacked. We don't want thousands of Kootenai County residents' license plates gathered in one position, one spot, for nefarious actors to extrapolate that information and to start building more of this digital ID, because every one of us right now is being made into a digital ID, a digital entity on the web. And you can say, well, it's a losing battle, but we can start in Kootenai County providing a pushback saying, no, we're not going to trade our dangerous liberty for a certain security. And I have no concern whatsoever of being the one that is saying this while everybody else thinks it's funny, because somebody has to be in the right. Somebody has to say what many of you should also be saying. If you truly want to buy off that everything's an officer safety issue, you will have law enforcement that is your enemy in very short order. Let me say that again. If you do not keep a check on law enforcement and give them whatever they want in the name of officer safety, you will eventually be completely controlled. You do not trade your dangerous liberty. Folks, we've talked about this. The founders were adamant about this. Life is not perfect. The government overall is supposed to be there specifically to protect your rights. Here in America, that's domestically against those that would come in and try to deprive you through assaulting or murdering or stealing or whatever variation. But there also comes risk. And you say, okay, I want to be a free individual. I don't want the government up in my business. We're going to talk about, coming up here pretty soon, some shocking information that a very savvy local business person told me about what's going on at Kootenai County right now, possibly in violation of state law, but you have your conservative leaders here implementing this, and it's wrong. It's immoral. Folks, so many of the elected representatives in Kootenai County that are claiming that they're these conservative bastions of freedom are anything but. Brent Reagan is running a corrupt organization, and those of you that continue to vote Brent Reagan, and Jeff Tyler, you're one of those, buddy, that continue putting Brent Reagan back into office, you're the problem. The KCRCC right now is destroying liberty while they're claiming that they're the holders, that they're the flag bearers of liberty, and they're not. Donna, you and I talked about it this week. Don't ask me to be a part of your organization. I will not be a part of any organization from here on out. I will only be on the side of truth. And if somebody from the Democrats happens to be part of that truth, then I will join with them. If it's somebody that is a Republican, that's a conservative, I'm done. I am done with these impotent, caustic organizations that are all claiming they're the most pure of pure. And all you dinosaurs that have been in office locally here in Kootenai County forever. Ron Mendive, I like you, Vito, but you guys are in there too long. It's time to be replaced by other fresh blood. Time for the voters to term limit these people. Quit sitting there concerned, oh, if we let these representatives sunset out, we're just not going to find conservative people to replace them. Nobody will run because you can't get a word in edgewise. They're going to keep these dinosaurs in because, well, they've done a good job. That's not what the founders wanted. George Washington knew 2 terms, it was enough. Where are all these conservative legislators that are claimed that they're the most conservative legislators in all of Idaho? Where are they speaking out against the LPRs? Where are they? Low-hanging fruit right here. They passed this stupid LPR bill that really, from everything I can tell in layman's terms, really doesn't do much of anything. When are you going to take advantage of your heritage by those founders, by your forefathers, that would not compromise their liberty? Everybody wants to say, well, I'd throw tea in the harbor. No, you wouldn't. No, in fact, many of your go-tos is we're going to just go in and we're going to start manhandling people and we're going to start just forcing our way in because you're too lazy to do it from a constitutional standpoint. Oh, well, these people are doing it because our leaders are accepting. Well, what are you doing to throw these leaders out? You're too busy barbecuing and on your ATVs and playing baseball and going to the lake in your boats and all the other fun things that you're doing. I get it. I had so many people last year when I was running on the campaign that gave sacrificially to help assist the campaign. Good people. Love them to death. They put their words exactly where their true convictions are. But there are a lot of you that said you wanted to help, that said you wanted to support it, and you went off. You didn't do anything. If you do that to me, you're doing it in all these other areas. And that's really the sad part. North Idaho Freedom Fighters, how many of you are actually out there fighting, or are you just letting the leadership put out bulletins? If we lose liberty, it's on every one of yours head if you don't stand up now and do something. Stop this crap about it's Republican versus Democrat. No, it's not. It's those that would steal your liberty for their benefit. That's where the real danger is. We've said a lot tonight. Appreciate you hanging out. We appreciate Mayor Woody McEvers coming on, telling us about his campaign. Thank you to all who send in tips about what's going on around the county. Thanks for all the support that all you frequent visitors give to Don and I. We do this not because we want to spend an entire day getting ready for these shows. We do it because of you, because of liberty. I want you to all stay strong and courageous. Remember those that are suffering. Remember, pray for Jim. Pray for our country. Trust but verify. And hold that torch of liberty high for all around to see it. Have a good night.
Special thanks once again to Wise Media Studios in Hayden for use of their remote studio in our interview with Mayor Woody McEvers. If you have needs for podcast production, you're going to want to get in touch with them. It's Wise Media over in Hayden. Thank you for joining us tonight on the Liberty Without Compromise live stream broadcast. You can visit our website to watch past episodes and view exclusive reports on these Kootenai County political power players. That website, libertywithoutcompromise.com. There you can also get your Liberty Without Compromise apparel, libertywithoutcompromise.com. And for our podcast, you can listen and subscribe wherever you get your shows. Remember to like and follow us on social media. The Facebook page, Liberty Without Compromise. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. That is The Idaho Sheriff. All of our past live stream episodes and special segments, special broadcasts, including the Bureau of Bootlickers, all over there, forever archived on YouTube at The Idaho Sheriff. So subscribe to that channel. One last very important reminder, we have put the invitation out for anybody who can appear in person at that Board of County Commissioners budget hearing for the 2026 budget, where they're going to be reviewing Norris's request for funding to continue that LPR, the license plate reader program here in Kootenai County. If you can show up in person, you're going to want to do that. It's at their government building next to the DMV in Coeur d'Alene, 6 to 9 p.m. next Wednesday, August 27th. For anybody who cannot make it there physically, we are going to be live streaming and rebroadcasting that Board of County Commissioners budget hearing meeting. Be really curious to see if they, for once, if somehow randomly cut the live stream.
Yeah, because we're going to be using the Kootenai County's own stream.
Their channel, because I don't know that you can go in as an independent and stream their hearings. Okay, so we'll see.
Open to the public.
Open to the public. We'll be curious to see if they somehow cut that live stream.
It's just tough because of the audio. You can't get good quality when everybody's talking.
Really need their stream. So that's what we're going to be doing next Wednesday. So you're going to want to join us an hour earlier at 6 p.m. next Wednesday. Typically our time, 7 p.m. We're going to be live streaming that Board of County Commissioners budget hearing meeting to see whether they say yay or nay to Norris's request for funding so that he can continue that LPR program right here in Kootenai County. What do you think? What do you think is going to happen? Join us 6 p.m. next Wednesday instead of our usual 7 p.m. time. Until then, Dan and I are saying goodnight. We're going to go kick our feet up, I think. It's been a long day.